Hello everyone, and welcome to Old World. We are back with another tournament match, Aran versus Sabertooth, Part 2. We're on turn 62 of this game, and our players have just begun to dive in to their next couple of turns. They took a moment to get appraised of the situation. They played last week, and the timer is now back on. I believe they've already taken their first turn of the session. We have a ship down here at Persia. We're currently on Aran's turn. Excuse me for 1 second. All right, Aran's turn just ended, but it looks like we put an anchor here. We have some units nearby. Aran is aware of the crisis, or at least had just recently became aware of the part one crisis in Egypt. Egypt was dealing with a heavy burst of rebels, lots of raiders, as well as a tribal invasion. They finally just kind of cleared up their situation, so I'll go over that in a second, but it looks like Aran is going to attempt to capitalize on that. There's another raider right here headed towards Egypt. He can see that. And basically the state of affairs for Persia is a really solid map-wide expansion. We have great expansion in the north, great expansion in the south. We're getting our military shrines online. We have 2 barracks already, both with officers, I believe, 2 mines, both with miners. We're getting all the woods lined up here. So we already have at 35 training. We're basically pretty much just about to be maxed out on training in here. This should hit about 39, I think, give or take, with these 2 coming online. Yeah, so we have 3 turn biremes, put some more ships in the ocean, in the mainland ocean. We have some anchors that can now come to the center of the map. I suspect he'll anchor over to this station. He's cleared over here. So basically, at this stage in the game, seeming like total map dominance from Aran here. Solid expansion. We'll take a look at some quick stats comparisons. Science, great science rate for Egypt. He opened with a 3 sage settle, which gave him a massive early boost of science. So currently, he actually has over 3. He has 1,400 science invested in the tech tree, more than Aran does. So that is going to be the main advantage Egypt has in his empire. Still making about 40 more science than Aran is making. So technologically speaking, Sabertooth should be ahead, but let's take a peek at his situation. Basically, what we had here was, as I said, 3 settles of sages in his first opening cities, really oriented around a massive science boost. He's now making 100 science per turn. This is a game-ending level of science here. He shot up to hydraulics as well. This is going to get him ballistas. It has him getting mills, which has his economy booming now. He has a couple of mills running online. However, he did spend about 20 turns, give or take. We also have the Jeroen Aqueduct. We're building another wonder here, the Necropolis. That's going to be a nice combination. Really get this to legendary quickly. And the Colosseum is on the map, so I suspect that will land in the Egyptian side of the map. So basically, the contrast here is a high science, high development nation, but because of the political situation in Egypt, we're seeing the last of it here, right, with some poor opinion. Also, the ruler was unpopular for quite some time. I had missed that in the first half. Was having some level of curiosity of where the rebel spawns were coming from, but it was coming from the unpopular status effect that hit this ruler. But basically, we were dealing with mass raids down here, a tribal invasion from the Scythians, and rebels in the north. This was also a Scythian camp with some Scythians coming over the mountains. So you can see some wounded units up here, still a wounded unit up here. Basically, Sabertooth is just, within the last 5 turns or so, finishing resolving the crisis that he had been dealing with for the last 20 or so turns in Egypt. Finally clearing out these camps. He's got these 2 camps left to worry about. Raiders still coming in, but this city almost fell to Raiders. There was so much tribal presence here. So now that things are finally stabilized in Egypt, Sabertooth is going to be able to kind of bounce back a little bit. But let's look at the other thing that we want to compare, power score. We've had a massive power difference in favor of Persia for most of the game here. And that's how they were able to clear and expand across most of the map. They're taking this central site now. And why can't I get over there? There we go. We're taking the central site now. We have a note here. We're going to put hunters in this spot. We still have the notes down here. This is to buy horses to get into this really, really strong military seat. It already has 37 training now from the 2 officers, the 2 miners, and now a very well-placed fire shrine. So that's nice to see. And that's really the big difference between the 2 empires, too. We'll see if the technological advantage for Egypt will be able to power through this. But if we look across the empire, we're building a barrack. No, that's a hamlet. We have 2 barracks here, 2 barracks here, 2 barracks down here, probably another pair coming. Yeah, 2 barracks here. So the military production capabilities in Persia are just massive right now. Let's take a look at the laws as well. We have 5 laws for Egypt, and we have 2 in Persia. Well, 4 in Persia, with a 5th one on the way. So their law pace is pretty even. Let's see if Egypt can adopt any more at the moment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, they actually have all 7 laws unlocked. So we'll be curious to see. They're making 100 civics per turn. So this should come online pretty quickly. He needs a strong city, though. His only strong city is here, and this city is currently under automation, and it doesn't have any horses. This city is 22 turns away from strong, so he's a little bit behind on that. Do we have any strong cities? We have a strong capital in Persia, so once he gets to 7 laws, he'll be able to start producing. So it'll be curious to see who starts producing their 8 strength unique unit first. Just by the culture alone, I suspect Persia, but Persia is still behind on the tech path. So let's take a look. We're taking land consolidation now. Excuse me. We have Portcullis, interestingly enough. I like this target just because he's probably aware Egypt has a better science, right? Because they're currently learned. And he's scouted this location. And if you can see this location, right? If you can get a scout in this region and see that there are 13 specialists here in a sage's city, this would be a really, really great spot for an agent. This is currently making 60 science per turn. So this one city is making more science than the entire Persian Empire. Currently, the entire Persian Empire makes 58 science per turn, and this is a great showing here, a great example of a solid science base in an empire, even though that the Egyptian Empire is nearly half the size. Egypt has 6 cities, Persia has 13 cities, so it is less. It is more than half the size of Persia, but the science rate is significantly higher, and this one city is generating more science than 13 Persian cities. So that's a really good display of economic power, of scientific power, and management for Sabertooth. Very well done there. We'll see if a city like this can help him power through. We have 3 mills in this location, all nicely scattered out to maximize. Basically, once you start putting quarries and farms and or lumber mills around here, that's going to be really good income. And he really, once he hit hydraulics, he just spammed these mills everywhere. And let's not forget, each mill is 2 science, so you're already getting 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16 science just paying out just from hydraulics. And again, that's maximizing the economy because these mills give adjacent resources 100% bonus. So this is also translating to some economic boost here, gold income boost. So really, really strong utilization of the mills and the hydraulics plate. Of course, even though Persia has a greater military output at the moment, Egypt will be able to defend themselves with ballista if they have to. We don't see any coming out yet. The big weakness of Egypt so far in this game is that they have very, very poor military production and have not been focusing on building too much of an army. Let's take another peek at that power graph. We're finally starting to climb up now with the arrival of unique units and such, but still, even with just half as many build queues. Oh, we do have a ballista coming. Fantastic. That's nice to see. With half as many build queues as our opponent, it's going to be difficult to fight, as if we look over here, we see a spearman. I think this just produced a unit. Oh, it built a bireme. We see a slinger. We see another slinger. We can do 2-turn slingers in the capital, so we can just spam those out, prepping to upgrade them. So, I mean, the military production, we have another slinger, even in this brand new city that was just settled. So Persia's military production is just going to eclipse Egypt, and unless Egypt can, get a bunch of ballista that can maybe get multiple kills at a time if Persia comes to advance and attack, he's going to be facing a really overwhelming force in the future. And for Persia, we're just, we're secure the central site. Do we have any settlers lined up right now? Let's take a peek. We don't yet. One coming 2 turns on the way. And then really, with this ship that came in down here, or even this ship, he can just come over here, anchor. He could really just keep taking all of these sites and secure every position on the map, and then just, he'll have an entry point here, he'll have an entry point here. This is the nice thing for Egypt. If he can rely on ballistas, there's nothing but choke points entering the empire. So onagers on the hills, he does have machinery, and ballistas, in the cities or coming out to advance or at these choke points would make it really hard to break into the empire with just infantry. He does have access to spears. He's building spearmen, so that can counter some mounted play. Going to be really, really interesting to see how Aran takes advantage of his position and goes in for the kill if he decides to. And thanks for the audio check. If you're joining me live, I appreciate you being here. Thanks for participating on another live stream of the Old World Tournament. If you're watching after the fact, always appreciate you tuning in and checking out the channel. Please give us a like, a subscribe, or a comment. Try to get around to responding to the comments when people chime in on YouTube. I have a little bit of catching up to do, but I tend to sit down and join the conversation there. And, of course, join the conversation on Discord. Land consolidation is going to be pretty nice for Persia. Get them back in the science game. They have a sizable number of groves across the map. There's just 3 up here, and there's 1 down here. So maybe a second one, so that's 5. Another one over here. So they have access to about 7 or 8 groves, I think, across the map. So that'll be another 16 science or more, which would be nice to see. Take a look at the rulers. There's a zealot ruling Egypt at the moment. A fierce, eloquent, witty, and wanton zealot. So massive civic income coming from that zealot. And of course, a zealot's always nice to have on the throne for that fatigue. Really great combination with the Egyptian unique unit, who's already the fastest unit in the game. So if you can get a couple of light lancers running around the map, it could be difficult to deal with, even despite Persia's numbers advantage. But of course, he's 42 years old, so he won't be around forever. And we have a 24-year-old, educated, compassionate, really decent stats all around. 4, 4, 2, and 5. Judge on the throne. This is actually great timing. We have great civics income anyway. We can keep holding court if we want to. And as soon as we get tyranny and monasticism, we'll be able to instantly upgrade our strongholds to citadels and start producing our unique unit, the max level unique unit. And I think we'll have enough civics income between our latent 130 per turn and the ability to hold court to rush out a bunch of cataphract archers using civics alone. But let's not forget, of course, the zealot can rush out with training, and I think we've already seen that happen here. We're making 126 training per turn. We have it only costs 350 training to rush his current chariot, so he would be able to rush this next turn. So we'll probably see a pretty rapid stream of light chariots. It's unfortunate. I always feel, personally, I always feel a bit yucky when we're so close. You know, we have 7 laws. We have 6 out of 7 laws, right? But we just don't have the culture timing, right? Not in the right spot anyway. So I always feel a little bit yucky when I'm in a situation where I'm rushing all of my 6 strength units out, where it's like, oh no, man, the 8 strength one is right around the corner. Because let's not forget, the more you rush, the greater the cost of rushing becomes. So I always like to try and save my rush potential for the better stuff. So of course I'll rush out specialists if I need to, or a settler occasionally, even though those are more expensive. It's more expensive to rush out growth units. But there are situations, of course, or like my 6 strength unit, of course I use rushing. But if I can, if the game state supports it, I try to hold off on all of my rushing until I get an 8 strength unit that I can leverage. Typically the unique unit, or things like ballistas, and onagers is something I would rush out a bunch. Things like that. Just high value units to keep the cost low and increase the ability that I'll be able to do it. Really strong economy in Egypt. Let's take a comparison of the economies here. So we have 185 stone income in Persia compared to 131 stone income Egypt. And again, really nice to see though, because keep in mind, Persia is twice the size of Egypt. So we have 85 iron in Persia to 63 iron in Egypt. Again, pretty impressive for having half the size of an empire. We have 88 food in Egypt and 100 food in Persia. And then, of course, Egypt is making... interestingly, this doesn't show gold. Oh, wait, yeah, there it is. 141 gold to Persia's 6. So even though the economies are relatively even, the Egyptian economy, I would argue, is quite a bit better because they're doing it with half the real estate. Of course, again, having all of these build queues, we're seeing more build up here. 3-turn spearmen, a spearman in 4 turns there. Another couple of slingers coming out. So really, really going to be an issue for Sabertooth if he doesn't get build up. And then the other thing that's going to be more, I think, of an issue for Sabertooth than Persia is Sabertooth is going to have to defend 2 different directions. And Persia has the military output, I think. And of course, naturally, the order economy. Let's take a look at that. We have Persia coming in with 38 orders per turn plus or minus worker turns, compared to 27 to Egypt plus or minus worker turns. So I think Persia will be able to field a large enough force with their current training output and the number of build queues that they have access to, and they'll have enough orders to actually assault 2 different locations, really putting the pressure on Egypt to have to decide where he's going to be. Thankfully, up here, with literally just a 1-tile pass and a 2-tile pass, it will be easy to defend, even with these coastline, right? You could put a ship here, but you still have this 1-tile pass. Or you could put ship here, and still like a 2 or 3-tile pass. So coming from the north is going to be very difficult. I'm suspecting we'll have some conflict over the site. It looks like Egypt is kind of coming towards the north. Maybe they're thinking we can get more territory. We have another rebel here. It has to be. Probably an event. But he's really been having these weird rebel outputs coming. Which is unfortunate. I know I didn't clock it in the first half, but he ended up with unpopular on one of his rulers. So that was responsible for some of the rebel actions that I couldn't quite explain. Coming up with battle line also for Egypt. This is going to be really tricky to deal with. And let's take a look here. Really love to see this. We have targeted late game military units, but battle line into infantry square. This is going to shut down the Persian unique unit. And of course, we do have the science to get there quickly. We're making 100 science per turn. So this will be done in 5 turns. And then it's only just another call it 16 turns or less, plus or minus some science boosts we could get before we can grab infantry square. And let's take a look at the deck. We have a draw pile to get through, so we'll probably be a little bit longer than that. We have 2 different draws we would have to go through before we get another shuffle, bringing infantry square into the deck. But I suspect our science is just going to keep increasing here. 100 is a solid amount. I definitely think that's a game-winning amount in these types of tournaments. But I think we're going to... I don't suspect that Aran is in any position where he's ready to assault now, or even in the next 15 turns. So we could be looking... Sorry, 10 turns. So we could be looking at an assault that's 20 turns from now. And in that time frame, it's entirely possible that Egypt could have infantry square and have upgraded pikemen that will just absolutely shut down the Cataphract Archer, I think. That it will be devastating for Aran to deal with. We need to see... So we're getting machinery targeted in Persia. That's good. Portcullis, again, that might help us catch up with some science. It could be an interesting game. Trireme would help him secure his already dominant naval position, which I suspect will remain in the control of Persia for the rest of the game. But if you combo Portcullis and Cartography, he could start stealing tech, stealing science from his opponent, or at least generating it. That's how that works. You don't actually steal the science. Still doing some clearing. Looking to me like Persia is going to try and take every site on the map. So let's talk about a different alternative path to victory here. We have 13 sites already for Persia, right? 13? We have this one that we'll get. We have this one that we can definitely get if we want it. And we have this one, which I suspect will go to Persia as well, but maybe Egypt contests. So that's 3. We'll definitely get this one 4. I suspect we'll get this one 5. So there's 5 extra city sites, giving us a grand total of 18 city sites, right? So if we assume we can get every city to developing... Is the Ishtar in the game? Ishtar's not in the game? That's fine. So if we assume that we can get every city to developing, that's at least 36 points. If half of those get to strong, that would be 45 points. And then if we did 5 wonders, which we already have 3, if we did 5 wonders, that would be 55 points. And then yeah, we're just like maybe a legendary city and a couple other wonders. Religious wonders, how many religions? We have Zoroastrianism, yeah. And the other 2 aren't founded yet, so we could get these religions. Yeah, so honestly, the crisis that the long-term strategic issue that Egypt is going to have to deal with is it doesn't actually matter at this stage in the game, I think, if Aran is able to break into Egypt. Even if they stall out here. But if we assume they could take this city from them, or they just expand to every city site, it is entirely possible that Aran is in a position to win off of points alone, which then shifts the momentum here to Egypt, where they will need to use their pikes and their technological advantage, even though they're producing less units, right? They're producing, their military output is lower and slower. They would need to be able to conquer Persia in order to win. They would start to have to win military battles, and in a quick enough time frame where they're taking territory faster than Persia can generate points. So that will be interesting to see if we end up... I don't think we've seen a game state like that happen yet in the tournament where one opponent has a clear shot to a point victory, even if they don't do anything else aggressive towards their opponent. All right, so we are making some progress down here with Egypt, clearing this camp. I suspect he'll... I'm seeing a lot of migration north, so it looks to me like Egypt's going to want to try and contest this aggressive expansion from the Persians back over to Egypt. You have to bear with me here. This is a tiny map, which is fine. But due to the sprawl of both empires, it can be tricky to track which actions they're taking in the moment. 2 more spears coming online. Another ship in the water hasn't been moved yet. I suspect he can not clear. Oh, he could clear this camp this turn, I think. Yeah, he can clear this camp this turn. That'd be 14. Well, maybe not. Maybe it would be just shy. And he has units aggressing towards this camp. These units are a little low, though, so and Egypt can see some of them. So if Egypt swoops in here with a... Look at this. Look at this range. I love this unit. And don't forget there's a zealot on there. But from all the way back here, this thing could swoop in, and just a couple of them, you know, wait for a spear, right? They still do a shitload of damage to spears. You can just zoom in with a couple force marches and just go to town, start murdering spears, and then Persia's going to have to react to that. We are anchoring over here. Love to see it. So still more further expansion from the Persian Empire. Aran is saying, I own this map. Every territory is mine. He can now see these light lancers, these light chariots, so he'll be able to take a peek and see their move distance. It doesn't seem as if he cares too much, but that's fine. Oh yeah, man. These spears could come up and just murder these guys. I'm not saying that's the correct play, but it's just certainly always something to be wary about if you're facing the Egyptians especially. You can think that you have time. You can think that you're not in range of a fight when you are. You're told, like, even this is the ruler. The ruler can get all the way over here. No force march required. This guy can get over here. No force march required. So these 2 units can literally attack this unit, or this one, without needing force march. Pretty sure they'd even get a kill, right? That'd be 5. That'd be 7, so that's 12. Oh, it'd be just shy. But isn't there a third one in the region? No. Still, really something to be worried about, or pay attention to when you go up against Egypt. Their mobility is just terrifying to deal with. And then, you know, just wait a while, wait another 10 or 20 turns, and all of these are going to be 8 strength units, which is just horrific to think about, because they'll shred even spears. In fairness, so will cataphract archers. They are ranged as well, so they'll still do a good number of damage to spearmen and then eventually pikes as well. But the issue with the cataphract archers is that the cataphract archers have a range of just 1, so they are effectively melee units, and they have to get up and close to the spears to do the damage, which puts them in much more danger of actually getting counterattacked by, and I don't mean tactician counterattacked, I mean retaliated on by their opponent with aggressive attacks. Roading out here looks like, which makes sense, get us a path to the ocean, put a couple ships out here, and you just have really, really good mobility. We still have colonies. We've done a lot of tile buying in this game, which I've really appreciated. We've connected this coast a bunch. We even bought tiles out to here. We bought tiles out to here, giving us coastal access. So really nice management of the map from Aran, I think. Really, really nice map management here. 4 turns left on the necropolis, which is going to give us a spike of 34 culture per turn, which, if I'm correct, at 40 turns, 2 turns left, I think that's going to give us a legendary city in under another 20 turns once this is finished. I think this will drop to something like 19 turns, give or take. And we can just focus on even more culture. We're building another shrine. Do we have mythology? We don't have mythology. So we could get a theology in Egypt if we wanted it. We do have a disciple set up. It looks like he's probably going to spread it to the capital, which will make sense because you're also trying to get strong in here for your unique unit. But we got out some iron here. This was a border expansion ages ago, but we're finally, because the rebel crisis is over, we're finally able to get out here. And this is going to be a really nice mill. Looks like he's putting a mill over here as well. Check these pins. I really like the mills. You always want to place the mills around resources because they produce 100% adjacent output for mines, quarries, and lumber mills. Putting them on adjacent to resources, iron especially. You want to make a really nice military city. You put your mills all around an iron. Doesn't even matter if the mills are directly next to each other. Who cares? Just buff that iron hardcore, and it'll be really, really great. All right, back to Aran now. What's happening in the world today? Spearman finished. Okay, cool. So we have Inspiring or Orator. If you finish a melee unit, you get either Steadfast or Brave or Guard. Nice options. This could be interesting if you started with an Orator. I wonder if you could build a Warrior or something and luck into getting Tribal early on if you're not a champion nation. That could be neat. I didn't check the next event. We have going straight for Composite Bow. Cool. Next. That was marked, so that makes sense. We had we had Coinage and Metaphysics in the deck. So I think Comp Bow makes sense here. Maybe he's thinking that he wants to get to Bodkin quickly as well. That's a good tactic. Machinery also, that's going to help him with invasion, and we're clearing this site. Still has epics, which is cool, so he's getting culture in these cities as he clears, which is quite nice as well. Really like to see that utilization of epics. Can be tricky to make that pay off, but I think Aran has done a good job of that. Honestly, though, both empires have solid economies. You know, neither of them, I think, have any economic issue at the moment. They both have, maybe there's no wood income coming in for Egypt right now, but they have plenty of gold income to make up for it. So, and let's check out the political situation in Persia. Politics are pretty much fine. The Zoroastrians, or the statesmen rather, don't like us too much. Let's see why. Bitter versus inspiring. Lots of discontent, probably because... No, nothing out of the ordinary there from discontent. We have really good legitimacy, though, which is nice. I'll take a look at Egypt's in a second. But politics in Persia seem stable. No rebel chances at this point in time, so that's good. Egypt really dealt with a crisis. Earlier in the game. Nice. Our land consolidation has finished, and we go straight to building a grove there. We're building a grove there. Nice to see. One thing that I like to do when I'm getting land consolidation queued up is I really keep a look at how many turns are left to the technology, and I get my workers everywhere that there's a grove in my empire, if I can, right? Obviously, if I'm trying to build a barracks or a garrison, that's something important. I'll stick with that. But generally speaking, if I'm like 1 turn away or 2 turns away from a tech, rather than starting a new improvement with a worker, I'll just let it sit and hang out on the grove for a couple turns. And I really prioritize those groves, especially if I have landowners in the empire. That way, as soon as I unlock the technology, I'm suddenly building 7, 8, 12 groves, however many are in my empire, and they all get finished in 3 turns. And that's just a massive science spike, which is really nice. All right, really like to see the rushing here, training rushing of a ballista. I'm gonna keep referencing this military score every now and then because we can see Sabertooth climbing. You know, his economy is online, his system is up and running. The Zealot is on the throne for only so many years, so you might as well take as much opportunity as you can. Oh, no, he has a Zealot heir. This is delightful. All right, so Sabertooth will be able to rush with training and enlist for indefinitely, quite possibly the rest of the game, in fact. So that's really nice to see. Always a nice combo to finish out the game. So basically, yeah, Sabertooth is going to have to conjure an army and use his technological superiority. And once he's kind of set up and no longer worrying about, you know, maybe this last tribal situation, he might be in an interesting position to be able to aggress against his opponent. Ballista will be tricky to deal with. I do not believe, let's take a look at Persia. Well, Persia does have phalanx, right, because they have the divine rule. So they are building spears. Yeah, never mind. What am I talking about? There's a bunch right here. He's been using spears to murder these horses all game. So he did settle the city, and yeah, he's taking this island. And this is going to be the other tricky thing. Despite Egypt's mobility, it's not really going to be a big advantage against Persia because Persia will have a similar level of mobility. Look at this axe. This axe can get all the way over here or all the way up over here, or you could come from back here with an axe or something. So his especially if he anchors. I've never seen someone anchor the entire ocean. So if you anchor, I think even a unit from down here might be able to at least make it up to this peninsula. So it's like this is one turn, and then you're jumping into a fight, and then if the fight comes down here, you could jump down this way too. I don't think I've ever seen anyone anchor an entire ocean before, so that could be fun to see. All right, we're back to Persia now, and yeah, he will make quick work of this camp for sure. It does look like he's backed off a little bit. He probably has determined that the Egyptians are, in fact, a threat in this position. So that's nice to see. That's a good spot there. Really, really cool. Cleared this camp. How many settlers we have? We don't have any up and running just yet. How many are being built? None at the moment. Oh, cool. We're seeing some camel archers. That's a fun response to the Lancer. 3-turn camel archer. The camels will take to the field in this match. Love to see it. We only have about a couple of hours in this match before our players call it quits for the day. So we're a half hour in. Yeah, we have about an hour and a half left. We'll see if we can get some conflict here, but camels will take to the field. Love to see it. 31 training in the capital. It will come out with Sentinel and a level up because of the Shrine. Really nice combination. And of course, Nomad was recently buffed to include arid tiles. So let's see if we have any arid battlefields. All up here, which also means over here. There'll be a 25% buff to the camels over here. 25% buff over here. And then maybe up in here if we end up invading. But yeah, no, decent battlefield. This will probably be, could potentially be a battlefield. And of course, this will definitely be a battlefield at some point if there's an invasion of Egypt. So yeah, no, not bad. This could be a battlefield as well. And there's plenty of arid around here as well. So yeah, camels could come in quite clutch. And of course, the camel unit specifically does... Where is it? Camels do an extra 50% combat damage. They have combat strength, in fact, so it's also defense against horse units. So this is a decent enough counter to horses as well. And of course, it has the... I'm pretty sure, actually, because they only have 3 move like a regular horse unit, but they actually have an extra fatigue, more so than everyone else. So I actually think, even though it costs more orders, I think a camel archer is actually just as fast, exactly as fast as a light chariot, but the light chariot is more order efficient because they move further with less fatigue, and the camel archer moves a shorter distance but has more fatigue. I think that's how that works out. There'd be 4 fatigue. Wait, no, how much fatigue? I'll take a look at that, but I'm pretty sure they move at the same speed. All right, coming up, clearing this camp. Making good progress here. These raiders are already cleared up. That's probably another reason why he backed off, just to deal with these horse raiders. And then, yeah, I mean, if he chooses to clear this camp, which he can see, he has perfect vision on, he can make that decision, clear this quickly as well, and that would be the complete end of the expansion era for the Persians. He could have an option to aggress on this as well, but pretty much he will have claimed the entire map. Or the most part, except for the Egyptian side. But the vast majority of the center of the map has all gone to Persia here. It's going to be a very tricky situation for Sabertooth to deal with. Let's take a look at the military score now. Okay, still getting close. Another ballista out. So 2 ballistas. Let's take a look at that. 2 ballistas and an onager on Egypt. Really nice to have if you're worried about any early aggression. Well, it's not early now, it's turn 68, but any aggression from your opponent. The unfortunate thing is, although he did build a nice road network, but he needs to finish that up because the ballistas are not going to be able to zoom back and forth. Like a light chariot can get all the way down here in short time. So that's the nice thing about this map for Egypt, even if they do have to choose or bounce back and forth between 2 different battlefields. Dear God, their rebel situation, this looks like it was an event. But still, man, Egypt is just fighting itself in this game. Crazy. Maybe a rebellion? No? Maybe this was autonomous and then we took it back? I'm not sure. Crazy, man, though. He's no longer unpopular. I'm not seeing that on the ruler anymore. So, but yet every time I really take a good look over here, there's another rebel for some reason. And there's no rebel chance in this city. Yep. He doesn't have dissent anywhere. Oh, there's 10% rebel chance down here in the riders. Go figure. So his 2 rider cities are all the way down here, and they could pop up rebels at some point, and then he's just going to have to ping pong back here with something that can actually kill him because there's barely any units down here now. Crazy. Crazy, crazy, crazy. I can't wait to check out the legendary timing once this is finished. All right, this is nice. He's building a citadel in Chenemwaset, which is nice because even though it basically makes them twice the cost, which is unfortunate, but he can then zoom his chariots down here and upgrade them into lancers because there's a citadel. So he will have access to an 8 strength unit if he wants it in 5 turns, and that would probably be the correct play. He has plenty of solid income to pull that off, and plenty of forests he can chop as well. I'd love to see these woods get just completely clear cut. Just chop, 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 chop everything. Burn it all down. Also up here, burn this all down. Burn everything down. Let's take a look at Persia and see what they've been doing on the chopping front. Not much, it looks like. So still lots of forests standing. But they have 74 wood income per turn now because of their lumber mills. But that's even then, that's still an example of what I'm talking about. You're getting about 74, close to 100 wood per turn, which is great. So you actually don't need really too much income past that. Maybe you shoot for 200 if you're feeling greedy, but then just chop everything else down and you get yourself a huge upfront lump sum burst. All right. Building some walls in the city? There's some time to do that, I suppose. Not too bad. That's not a decision. Normally I'm like, hey, don't build walls, but I don't hate that. It's only 5 turns. Put this governor in there, speed it up. We have the civics for it. I would make it 4 or 3 turns. Don't hit walls there. Yeah, maybe put the governor in here. Yeah, there we go. Eloquent diplomat. Chop that down quite a bit. Yeah, this isn't the other thing, the reason why I don't dislike this as much as I normally do is because the size of the Persian Empire. Sacrificing a couple of build queues, building walls now isn't gonna. He's doing 3-turn camel archers and 2-turn slingers. Look at all the slinger build up here. So you don't lose anything. But I think when you're under threat from an invading army, basically seeing an army on your borders is not the time you want to build a wall, in my opinion. It's a preemptive thing. And also because you probably need more military units if the army's actually coming after you. All right, we have another city down here. It's interesting. I feel like I'm not seeing him build these settlers because every time I look, there isn't a settler nearby. And then it's like the next turn he has a settler, but he doesn't look like he's rushing them, so. All right, so here we have another settler here, which is just going to teleport over this place. He still has colonies, so he could have just saved some time and built this. Purchased this tile, but I guess, whatever, that's fine. Save himself some money. I guess he is kind of broke in terms of cash on hand. But his economy, his stockpiles are pretty solid. Egypt is still weaker. Building a worker, building a light chariot, worker down here. This city has been on automation for the entire game, by the way. Which is also amazing, because that's another thing about the science boost, and it's really helping out here, because basically you have a solid science location, he's still doing a great job, Sabertooth, of developing the terrain for the automation. There's high growth in the city because of the Jerwan and such. So this is now a 16 population city with 14 specialists in it, because all the automation is going to do is just spam specialists. Autonomous rule will not build military units, so that is certainly a drawback. However, the effect of the autonomous rule actually gives you, where is it? 1 science and 2 gold per population, right? So he's getting an extra 1 science per population from the 16 population, which is just solid. So that's another reason why we're looking at, 16 from autonomous rule. It's actually currently the highest value. It's currently surpassing Sage's because it's factoring in that citizen, and also any rural specialists. So that's pretty solid. That's a really solid effect, and it's being used nicely in this case. And the 5 discontent, the negative 25 science from this 5 discontent is being counteracted by the governor. So yeah, really, really solid to see it. Basically a flat 63 science per turn. Solid. Really, really solid city. This is potentially, if Sabertooth wins the game, it will likely be because of the development of this city, which is ironic because it really has been autonomous for pretty much the entire game. Zenobia showed up in the city, and she governed there for quite a while. So yeah, really, really funny if that ends up being... we're getting Maceman now. We're upgrading to Maceman. Really going to ramp up that power further. We're climbing up, but we're seeing more spikes. So this is going to be the race we have. We're going to have less build queues, but stronger, more technologically advanced units compared to the power of just mass spamming units. Going to be really tricky for both players in a war. So we'll have to see how Aran handles that tactically. It's going to be really tricky to see. All right. Where are we now with Persia? We have 1 site left to clear. This will go down. And we have the settler all set to go. Oh, yeah. He could even force march this and settle this turn. I love that he's actually taking this peninsula just because I adore the clear map dominance. Really, really cool to see. Immediately starting a grove down here after settling the city. This is great. This is one of the reasons why I love land consolidation. So I'll talk about this for a brief second. You settle a new city on turn 70. It's really hard to make these cities pay themselves back. So we talk about that sometimes in the tournament, that sometimes past a certain point, expansion doesn't really feel worth it. I think land consolidation makes it worth it, really, to be honest, because it's very easy to make a freshly settled city. This freshly settled city can contribute another 4 science to the empire really quickly. So that's nice. And, just spend your build queue. You have the 13 civics. You have 2 citizens. So put a gardener. And even if that's all you do with a city, that probably pays itself back. Getting another grove. Nice. So our science is climbing back up, which is really great to see. Let's take a peek at that. So, yeah, all right. We're still not quite where we want to be. This will get updated next turn, I think. But, yeah, still quite a ways behind. But we're solving our main drawback here, which is getting our science up. Still, I definitely think Aran has a very strong-looking empire. Getting sovereignty now, which is nice. That'll get us closer to machinery, which we have targeted. And I believe, is that our 7th law? No, that's our 6th law. We'll have to grab monasticism at some point. Going to be a surprise once Persia starts seeing pikes. Oh, yeah. See, this is what I love to see. You're all developed now. You have 37 training per turn. You have 176 stone income coming per turn. There's really no reason to not just keep spamming. They're one-turn slingers. It's going to be 2 turns, but because of overflow, every now and then, every like third or fourth slinger is going to come out in 1 turn. So yeah, you just spam slingers indefinitely. Because this does 2 things. It gives you bodies. They are sentinel slingers, so they're better. But it gives you bodies in a fight, so once the fight breaks out, you can use them as cannon fodder. You can use them to block your opponent, zone of control. And of course, we all know from combat in Old World, you'll be trying to kill something and you're always 2, 3, or 4 damage away from killing it. So a couple of slingers nearby will help round that out. But then the other thing, once Aran hits something like Bodkin Arrow, all of these slingers are going to transform into longbows. So that mass upgrade potential is kind of how you want to structure. We're building in the Apadana in Egypt, another wonder now. That's how you want to structure your military development. You get yourself a high training city, and then you don't rush to longbows and start building longbows. No, you just spam slingers the entire time and then rush to longbows. That way you have, 20 slingers by the time you're there. And you don't have to build 20 longbows. You can just upgrade to 20 longbows. It's called a mass upgrade. All right, some interesting staging right here in the center of the map. I wonder if we're making our way down south or if we're just going to hang out. Oh, no, we're upgrading. We're going to upgrade here. That makes sense. We're waiting for this citadel to finish up. That'll be a really interesting thing to see how Aran reacts. That's another reason why the spamming slingers is going to be useful, because currently in this current map situation, the military strength superiority in terms of per unit is going to heavily be in favor of the Egyptians. So the only real way to counteract that in a tactical sense is to be able to outproduce and swarm your opponent. So even if these mounted lancers can come in and kill a slinger in 2 hits, right? The great thing is that you made them waste 2 hits on a slinger of all things. We're getting Paltons up now, which is nice. So, and because of the difference in training here and the difference in build queue, every kill for the Egyptians is worth less than every kill for the Persians. If Persia takes out if Persia spends 4 slingers dying to kill one of these mounted lancers once they come out, think about the investment here. We rushed a couple of them, right? We spent the resources on this one. We spent the resources to upgrade it into a mounted lancer compared to 2-turn slingers, right? So if it takes me 4 2-turn slingers to kill a light lancer, and what I mean to say is that I lose the 2-turn slingers in combat because they die, right? But on my next turn, I come in with spears or whatever to kill a mounted lancer. Well, that's a trade I would make any day of the week. So, it's going to come down heavily to Sabertooth's tactics and his ability to leverage the strength of his army against the overwhelming force of Persia. And look at that. We just settled the city, immediately building up spearmen. Nice. Nice to see. In fact, I want to take a look at this. We have the build queues right here. We are building a military unit in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 5 cities. So that's a really nice thing about having a larger empire, because he can still spend some time on specialists if he wants to help increase his science, workers to increase his economy, the walls to defend himself. But he still has 5 build queues building military units. And the awful thing here is, let's go back to the fact that Egypt only has 7 cities. So Persia, being so large, can afford them the capability of spamming units at the exact same rate or better that Egypt can. It's going to be so difficult to deal with. Tyranny would definitely be the play here. We get more training in every city. Although we might decide for the extra science, this would equalize us. This would get us closer to 100. So I suppose that's a little bit tougher of a call than I give it credit in this particular situation, but I'd still probably get tyranny, because that would be 329 gold per turn and basically a free barracks in every city. So that'll help. That'll shave a turn off of these units coming out in these crappy cities. These would all become 6-turn spears instead of 7-turn spears. All right. What else are we looking at? I don't think we've been holding court much. We don't really need to. We have, oh wow, we have 2,400 civics. So we're going to have to think of something to spend those civics on. What's a thing we can spend civics on? We could run around and assign governors. Do we still have governors that can go locations? Yes, we do. We could assign a diplomat here to speed up those walls. And then, of course, we can rush stuff. This is a great example of why I think ultimately your civic income all goes to rushing, because why not just rush this gardener out, Or keep the production here, right? Slot in this gardener and then rush it at full cost. Then you'll just go right back to producing this gardener in. You delay this by 1 turn. So this would come out in 4 turns, but you'd get a second gardener in that same time frame. So you get 2 gardeners in 4 turns rather than 1 in 3. So that's a trade I would make. Or, slot in an elephant. It's a 4-turn elephant, though, so I'd rather do something like put in a 16-turn elephant. This is the place you want to be rushing, and just rush out elephants. Really, really, we have developing. This is it. That's what you do. You grab an elephant, or, an archer or a ship or whatever. What, do we have an estate in here or something? No, just a slothful governor and no training output. Yeah, so you just this is what's great about developing culture and having enough build queues, is that you use all this excess civics, because all of this will just turn into science, which I guess you could choose to do, but it's just such a crappy rate. I would rather invest in my economy or in my army by rushing stuff. So it does look like we're passing the buck to Egypt, and I would be really... I mean, I guess he wants more science. That would be what? No, that would only be 48 science. You're going to toss... Basically, your choice would be, I guess you'd be choosing between 48-ish science and an elephant. So I guess you have to make that choice to decide which one you'd rather have, I suppose. I suppose that's a fair consideration, fair trade. We're getting this iron online now, which is nice to see. And then a mill should be coming up and running next. Any wonders now? The museum was built in Persia, so that's where some of that science spike came. So let's take a look at that science now. Climbing back up 75 to 100 now. Still a massive, nearly 2,000 more science inside the tech tree for Egypt than Persia. It will be really interesting to see if Aran can overtake that. Not the investment, but, win the game. 15 turns on infantry square. So this is going to be the real big issue, I think. It's really going to come down to numbers versus power here, I think. Because soon, Egypt... Why are we building a settler? What on earth? Why are we building a settler? A bireme is going to be unfortunate. We have 2 biremes, but I really think the Persian Navy is just going to take a crap all over that. Especially because we're rushing it. So... It's really going to come down to power versus numbers, because we'll have 8 strength mounted lancers. We're going to have 8 strength pikes, which will hard counter the Persian Paltons and Cataphracts. And then we'll have ballistas, which our opponent does not have, to counter pretty much everything else. So I think a concentrated force of high value units, call it like maybe 5 pikes, 5 mounted lancers, and 3 ballistas, which we pretty much have. We have 2 ballistas. No, we have 3 ballistas right here. Honestly, I think that could just slow march into Persia and start winning battles. Now, the trick they're going to have to deal with is the weird mobility that Persia is going to be able to have with their ability to flank and take out high-value units. So it's going to be really interesting to see if it comes to a fight. All right, I'm just going to give myself about 5 minutes. Not 5 minutes, I apologize. A couple of seconds. I'm just going to take like a 10-second break. So, where will I focus? Oh, before I go, though, I want to check out the necropolis. Here. How close? We're now 16. I was right. Less than 20 turns. 16 turns to legendary. Now that that's finished. And we're building an acolyte, so that's only going to go down a couple more turns. But I suspect we'll be there. The 16 would be legendary on turn 87. I figure we'll probably hit legendary in this city around turn maybe 85. I want to say 84, but I'm going to be conservative and say 85. All right, so anyway, now that I've reviewed that, I'm just going to take a quick 30-second break, refill up my water cup, and things like that. All right, we are back. Thanks for your patience. Thanks for being here live with us. And of course, if you're catching up after the fact on YouTube, please say hello on the channel. We have a nice marble right here. That's nice. I didn't even notice that before. So really, let's take an eyeball of this coastal movement. This spear can get to this coast. So if they get to this coast, it could get all the way over here. This would be rough movement. And now we have these camel archers who can just go crazy. Can even get all the way down here? Yeah, so I feel like with a couple more anchors, a camel archer could probably clear half the map across the ocean. That'll be fun to see. Another camel. Is that the same camel? It's the same camel. Oh, we're building more. Yeah, we're building more camels. Yes, the rise and march of the camels. Great to see. Unfortunately, in 15 turns, Egypt is going to have pikemen, which will make every camel explode instantly once they touch. So that's gonna suck. That's really gonna suck for Aran. I wonder if he realizes I wonder if he's aware that he's against the clock. Sabertooth has been weaker than Aran for the entire game, but has been learned or erudite for the entire game. So basically, Aran must know that, or at least assume, because one thing Aran probably didn't know is the major. Holy shit! Okay, I understand why this happened though. This was an autonomous rule reclamation event. So did we? We did. Where is it? I can't even get this build queue. Ah! Yeah, so we dropped some science because we discarded autonomous. Oh, no, we didn't. What the hell? Oh, Epicticus? Slavery? Yeah, maybe we got a slavery event. Crazy, man. It's crazy the amount of crap we've been seeing happen in Egypt all game long. If Sabertooth wins this game, I am going to be so kind of thrilled and impressed, just because he's been dealing with internal political bullshit for the entire game, or like a tribal invasion, and like he's been playing the narrative of Egypt on this side of the map has been awesome, just struggling through so much adversity before trying to claim victory in the world. Oh, that would be just so great to see. All right. So anyway, still on Persia's turn. We have an anchoring up in this bay. Really nice to see that. Looks like we might try to do a surprise attack. Can Egypt see this? They can just see that anchor, which is just so unfortunate. It would be awesome if they would be able to see that anchor. That'd be a real big surprise. I'll be curious to see if Sabertooth notices this and manages to block off these tiles, block off this coast. That'll be important to cut out the way through. Is this a hill or a mountain? It's a mountain. All right. But still, nice posturing here from Persia. I'd be curious if they just launch themselves right in. They have plenty of spears in the region, although the ballista would be an unfortunate thing to encounter. You know, even with the amount of slingers, these slingers are all, oh, we're purchasing along tiles. We're really going to give us the maximum coastal movement all across the map. This is funny. I'm not 100% sure if this is worth it, but I guess coming down across this coast would be faster than coming down here. And if someone actually does come up to try and take this city, trying to account for the logistics of troops zooming down this coast would probably be a nightmare. We just got comp bow, and I saw at least one archer upgrade. I think even a mass spam of archers right now would still be problematic for Egypt, so we might not even need to wait for Bodkin, to be honest. Oh, and the Persians also have infantry square targeted, and the Persians have themselves hit 100 science per turn. So now the Persians are 22 turns away from infantry square, plus or minus their draw piles. So a little bit longer than that, which is unfortunate because the Egyptians are 16 turns. So Persia's a little bit behind on that, but pikes will certainly help against the mounted lancers. And honestly, I think even if Persia ends up on the back foot here, right, with an early mounted lancer ballista pike invasion, I think getting pikes, I think Persia has enough territory that they can lose to give them time to get pikes themselves. And then their core is such strong military production centers. He hasn't been relying on rushing, so he can always lean into rushing when he's ready to do that too. But his core has such strong training production that I think even if he were to lose the first half of these battles, maybe if he just lost like 4 cities, right? Or like this whole even northern part here, in the time it takes him to get pikes up and running, if he were just retreating and retreating, saving his spears, saving his units, if he then does his own mass upgrade to spears in response, I think that could have the tide of battle shift dramatically, because again, what it's going to come down to is Egypt's ability to kill more things with losing less units and ultimately outproduce the Persians. And I just don't think they're in a position where they're going to outproduce the Persians anytime soon. And yes, indeed, someone mentioned the walls could come in clutch for delaying that advance and allowing you the few turns you need to catch up in tech. And yes, that's a great point. And that is the type of example where I think walls can come in handy. And, you know, they're not a complete waste. I still like to wait. Oh, did we get the event? No. What about up here? We'll have to check here. There's an event when you build a wall that gets you a moat automatically. I still kind of like to. Maybe that's why we're eyeballing portcullis for moats, too. But yeah, no, I mean, again, it comes back down to build queues. We now have enough build queues in Persia that I wouldn't even mind seeing a wall here, and a wall there. And, you know, maybe like a wall here, probably a wall there. Although, again, you'd be trading... I would just rush the wall, but it's still a 4-turn wall. But you'd basically be trading a wall for a Paulton. And that's one of the ways I kind of look at that when I'm kind of wonder why people are building a wall when they're under threat. Because it's like, the wall is going to help you if your city's under attack, but you don't want your city to be under attack. So how you prevent that from happening is getting more units. So normally I would just pick the Paulton over the wall. However, we have enough queues around the map now as Persia that yes, I think if you wall this whole upper territory, that will buy you more time to catch up in technology for sure, 100%. And your military output is so high. You're doing, you know, 3-turn camel archers, 3-turn archers, 2-turn slingers, you know, that you can afford to, you know, spend a 6-turn build queue of one of your 16 cities, by the way. Jesus Christ. Yeah, you can afford to build walls everywhere now. I just think it's a bad idea when it's like you have 5 cities and you have an army coming towards you and you need more units. You know, that's the point where like you build another axe or you build another horse. Because, I mean, if your city's under attack, then you've already lost a battle. All right. So, yeah. Getting a gardener right away. 3-turn gardener, man. Our science, that land consolidation coming in really great. Our grove complexes are almost entirely up with 1 in progress up there. And I think that's pretty much it. So really, there's a grove over here if we want to spring for it, but I don't think that's worth it. Oh, we finally put horses, yeah, because we're getting the Paultons, and we have some groves down here. So yeah, really, really nice to see the use of land consolidation here in the mid game to catch us up in science. So now we have, in fact, part of losing that autonomous rule has brought our science down. So now, for the first time in the entire game, for the first turn 73, first time the entire length of this game, Persia now has a higher science rate than Egypt. So this is a crisis. Look at this, right? Now, granted, let's not forget, Egypt has 2,000 science already invested in the tech tree. So they have a technological advantage. But the problem with seeing this in the face of everything else happening in the game, Persia has a larger empire, more build queues, more efficient build queues, bringing out more units that even if Egypt has a strong technological military advantage to start with, this science gap is only going to grow because now Egypt has had more science than Persia for the entire game while having half of the cities. Sorry, honestly, almost a third of the cities of Persia now at this point, right? So now that Persia has finally caught up, this science number, if Aran chooses, is only going to grow even larger, right? And there's no catch-up mechanism on that front for Egypt. I mean, maybe scholarship, something like that, right? But really, that's a risky play because it's just greedy. So Persia has no place to go but up from here, whereas Egypt, I would deign to say that they're more or less plateaued. They'll probably get another 20 or so science for the rest of the game, sure, but they're more or less plateaued. Some of these got pillaged, so that will jump back up to 100 actually. But I don't foresee them gaining much more science, especially because it looks like they're trying to get into military mode. So they're trying to close the gap that's their weakness, right? But I don't know. I think the clock is ticking for Sabertooth here. Sabertooth is going to have to try and figure out a way to get an advantage over Persia that will last. And then the other trick, as we just talked about with the timing, right? I don't know. Things aren't looking good for Sabertooth at this point because he's going to have to. I mean, like I said, Persia has territory to lose. If Persia loses this city, this city, this city, this city, and this city, who cares? He still has more cities than Egypt, right? So you could literally just retreat or throw 2-turn slingers at the problem until, trying to slow your opponent down. But then if it takes Egypt 30 turns to do this, to take all of these cities, or 20 turns to take all of these cities, well, then that's 20 more turns of Persia being in a stronger position now on the map. So, I mean, the clock for Sabertooth is really ticking. Like, alarm bells are going off, as from what I can see in this game state. Aran has played a measured and consistent game, I think. Balancing expansion, balancing politics. And this greedy play of the 3 sages settling, it can pay off, it can work, but I think it might have backfired in this particular game. Just because what the biggest thing that we noticed if you watched that first part, but I'll just mention it real quickly. He not only did he build 3 economic cities first, he also didn't build a single military unit in any one of them. So one of the best things to do is to get out your military unit, your military city second, and just go right into building a second military unit. Or at the very least do it that third, right? And the reason for that is so you can start clearing more camps. And we saw Egypt get into a crisis where they couldn't expand any further, and then they were just dealing with rebels and raids and invasions. For far, far too long. Yes, difference in legitimacy. We have a 141 legitimacy in Egypt compared to a whopping 229 for the Persians. Let's take a clearer breakdown here. We have 3 ambitions for Persia, 2 finished that went to legacies. And we got Glorious on the first ruler, then Drill Master, and now we have Pioneer, just from settling cities, by the way. That's really nice to see. Just a couple of cities being settled got us this Pioneer. So good cognomens here. And then if we look at the event, this is the thing that I checked. Check this out. Only one event of all of the possible options and event outcomes that Persia has gotten in this game has he taken a legitimacy hit by the options that he chose. Of course, some of these are wonders, but things like exploration, naming a landmark. But so Mysterious Sword, he got the mysterious sword, and rather than taking it, he put it on display. Things like that, right? So if we go over to Egypt and do a breakdown here, we're looking at the first ruler getting to the Wise, which is not bad. A 60 plus. You're on your first ruler. If you can get a 60 plus cog, that's great. So Glorious for the Persians was 80. for their first ruler, but still, 60 still very good. Invincible is fantastic. That's a 70 cog. So this is one way that that crisis in Egypt actually helped him out. He was able to get invincible on this unit, and it's his current ruler. But he's only has one ambition. In fact, I think he's failed a couple. So yeah, all right. So this is where it comes out. Check this out. So we have 2 failed legacies, and let's take a look at this. That's every legacy you fail is -5 legitimacy, right? However, if you think of it this way, if succeeding an ambition when it's an ambition is 10 legitimacy, and then failing a legacy is -5 legitimacy, that's actually a 15 legitimacy swing in one direction for another. So technically speaking, adopting an ambition that you can't succeed and you don't succeed is actually not -5 legitimacy, it's -15. So that's the thing that I think some players can overlook, and which is one of the reasons why it's very important to pick ambitions you can do, focus on them if you can, but the most important thing about playing the ambition game, do not accept every ambition. Say no. It's very important to learn to say no to ambitions, because you end up in situations where a bunch of them become legacies, and even that's still a 10-point shift, or a 5-point shift, basically. Anyway, yeah, so big legitimacy differences, and then we have more stuff from actual events. We allowed a scout to steal silver, so oh, this sucks. I hate this event. He could have lost his scout, so I understand this. If you harvest silver, you get an event that can kill the scout unless you pay 2 legitimacy. So that sucks. Yeah, what is this? The hunt, that's fine. Because you get a bunch of XP for the hunt, even if you fail it. Influence can weaken, and then, yeah, the big one, the bastard, he legitimized a bastard. But the big one is the 2 failed things. But also even take a look at the comparison between the landmarks named, right? I think Persia had something like 32 on their side. So this is the value of really exploring the map if you can. And that's, I think, another thing that the setback of delaying riders on Egypt happened to contribute to, is that his rate of exploring the map was slower. And there's legitimacy to be had out there in the world if you explore the map. All right, so we have the anchor here. It does not look like Egypt has noticed or responded, because I think it must have been a couple of turns by now, where now we can actually see this red anchor, but there's still no progress, no movement to shut it down. We are on Egypt's turn, but I'm going to do a quick run around Persia just to see where things are, since I was talking about the legitimacy thing just now. Getting gardeners, getting another settler. Where is that settler going to go? Here, maybe? Okay, and there's I wonder if we'll bother to take this as Persia. Paltan Cavalry's coming up, doing decrees in our nice decree spot. Only 3 turn decrees, so that's basically an extra 3 orders per turn. Pays out in a lump sum, but it's 3 turns and you get 9 orders at the end of it, so that's effectively 3 orders per turn in long term. Getting our gardeners online up here. Not sure I would do that here, to be honest. Again, maybe do I have a judge? Yeah, slot the judge in and pay for it if you can. I really don't like to waste my build queue time in high production cities. Basically, let's say we build these 2 gardeners. It's 5 turns on this one. It would be maybe another 5 turns on that. Possibly 4. But either way, that's about 9 or 10 turns. We could get 3 more slingers. So I wouldn't do that. That personally, especially now that I already have over 100 science. This starts to be the point in time where I tend to cool down on my, must get science, that logic. Anywhere between 200 and certainly by 100, and then certainly by 200, I basically stop caring about science altogether. Because it's just enough. And I've had higher values. I've gone up to insane values like 500, 600, 800 science in the game, but you just don't need that much science. It's cool to see the big numbers, but once you're being able to do even the end game text, in like 5 turns. So I guess 200 science on infantry square would be 8 turns, and that to me feels sufficient. But that's also largely a single-player perspective, so I suppose I might have a different perspective in the duel scene. Although I actually think in the duel scene it favors cutting off science earlier, I think. If anything, I would probably feel even stronger about it in this metric, because technically speaking, the games have the potential to be shorter and quicker and more ruthless, so you don't need as much long-term investment in theory. In theory. That doesn't mean it's always true. I think sometimes I lose some games because I'm not investing in long-term, and then I run out of steam too early. Monasticism coming up, so this is going to be the 7th law. And we still have a judge on the throne, so I'm really hoping to see an instant citadel upgrade. This is going to be the test for Aran. I've been eyeballing everybody who runs a judge in this tournament, especially since the first 3 or 4 judges I've seen on the throne in this tournament, no one was using that upgrade ability. Even I was seeing people hard build things like strongholds and citadels. Well, a judge was sitting on the throne. Very frustrating to deal with as a spectator. My min-max brain was screaming out loud. So we'll keep an eye on this in 3 turns to see if Aran, and I suspect he strikes me as quite an efficient player, so I suppose he won't overlook it. But it can be something you can overlook, especially with the timer and in the pressure of a duel. So I don't hold it against people too much, but it's certainly frustrating to observe people not maximizing the advantage of the rulers that they have on the throne. What's our heir? We have an heir in philosophy education for the Persians, so we will have to determine... Oh, we also have a judge husband. Quick influence mission will increase these yields if we want them. What's the politics? Politics is still decent. It doesn't look like the Zoroastrian faith is that fond of us, though, so maybe getting some investment up here. This guy's old, though, so he'll... Oh, and he's proud. I always hate it when characters are proud. It's such an annoying trait to bump into. But, we have 124 science now. Let's take another look at that graph. Really just leapfrogging over the Egyptians here. Really nice to see. Yeah, so really tough spot for Persia. Sorry, Egypt, long term. Really, really going to be a tricky spot for Egypt long term. I feel pretty strongly about the idea that Aran has a game-winning empire at this point. He has 200 civics per turn coming in. And this is the type of thing, going back to rushing, not to belabor the point, but where do we have? So this city, again, right? No training infrastructure. You never need to build a barracks here. Because now, rushing a archer or an onager even, onager would be great to rush, right? This would cost you, I think, 380 civics, give or take. And then it would increase by, I think it increases by like 5 or 10% every time. So it goes like 380 to like 410, something like that. I'm probably off by like 10 or 20 civics. But anyway, the point is at 200 civics across the empire per turn, this city, developing culture, is now a military hub. You could just rush an onager every 2 turns with that level of civic rate. And why not? You're not doing anything else with it. You have all of your laws. You have governors where you need them. You don't need to do any civic-based missions yet. So when you reach this point of the end game, or the mid-game to end game, where your empire is completely online, as it were, or set up and fully structured, no reason to not start looking at this resource as military units. Especially because, the best thing about this is it's 16 years to an onager. You never need to invest in military here. Oh, looks like we had a bit of a disconnect here. I'll check in with the players and see how things are going. Yep, looks like we had a disconnect. All right, so I'm going to troubleshoot this real quick, and we'll be back. Oh, server. Server connection restored for me. I think... All right, hold on. We'll troubleshoot this. I'm just going to take a look at this real quick. Give me... All right, they are back. We had a slight connection hiccup, but all the players have been restored. The timer is resumed. But yeah, so now you're at a point in the mid game where you never need to build a barracks here, never need to invest training in the city, but you can still bring out military units every 2 to 5 turns because of your civics output. And then if it gets too expensive in this location, well, then you just move over here and you start doing it here. And the same thing, 13 turn onager. No, it's not. You can rush it out in 2 or 3 turns. Why not? All right, Persia is aggressing towards this site. We have a maceman nearby. We have a camel coming in, so he's going in hard here. Does he have a settler nearby? No settler yet. Where is it? Settler in 1 turn, so he'll get it next turn. He'll clear and settle next turn, unless Sabertooth really wants to aggress here. But he doesn't have the position for it. It would require too much force marching, and this will be. This is incredible. There's literally only 2 more sites left on the map to settle. And Persia could take this one if he wants. I don't think there's anything that Egypt would be able to do about it. So this is going to box the Egyptians in to this mountain range. And yeah, man, tick-tock. Just a matter of time for the Egyptians at this point, I think. I still think there's maybe a slight possibility that they could use their current military might. But with an 8 strength unit coming online for the Persians, and the pikes only still 12 turns away, looking quite harrowing for the Egyptians. Persia can see these ships in the water, I believe. Both of them? No, just one. Oh, boy. Really, really liking the layout of the empire. Really, really loving the production, the value that this city is generating. 100 food per turn. That's just awesome, right? And yeah, maybe swordsmen will help. That's another 13 turns. So in 13 turns, we'll get access to pikes, and we'll have a free... Well, no, we would have to finish the Colosseum, so I'm getting ahead of myself there. That's also like 30 turns, unless we have a builder that we want to put on the throne somewhere, which we do not. Oh, we actually do, but would have to dump a zealot for it. But you could always do that. That could be interesting. Yeah, man, I really like some of the things here about Sabertooth Empire and his choices in the mid-game. You know, his tech path, really, hydraulics, I think, was a nice, solid grab. This decision here, this emphasis, I think is really smart. Really focused direction with his science advantage, really. He's not all over the place. He just shot up, got 7 laws, which I think actually might have been a mistake. Just because you don't have the culture for it. So in the future, maybe he should have just gone straight for infantry square. Because I think you can do this in the same time. Like, imagine if he didn't get... I suppose dumping hydraulics wouldn't have been the best. But I assume if he didn't come up here, didn't grab monasticism, he'd already be at infantry square. But hydraulics is also contributing a decent chunk to his science. So who's to say? But still, I like the decisions he's made. But I think the biggest problem he's had was that his empire literally went through like a dark age. where he was just facing every possible problem that you could face on the map. Okay, and all that conversation, and I missed some advancement from the Egyptians up towards Persia, but thankfully no combat yet, so I'll keep my eyes fixed up here for now. Egypt is deciding, hey, no, this is my front door, you can't have it. And unfortunately, if he wants it, Aran can take this. I really need to stop losing those guys. He's probably saying that about the scouts. I'll be surprised here if Aran chooses to back off. Egypt really trying to get around here with different units. He even sent some units to the northern pass. So we take another scout. Another loss of vision for the Egyptians. That's his second scout he lost to the Persia, also up on this northern side of the map. And we can't take this camp. We're taking this camp, and I would like to see a force march here from this settler. Oh, really? Some interesting options. You can put that mountain pass in your border. Really be curious to see where we decide to settle here. Probably, I would honestly go forward. Just go up on the hill. Who cares? Put yourself right here. Be harder to shoot into you. All right, but now we have vision, and we can see this army. We can see the ballistas advancing. And that's it. Not really going to be much Egypt can do about it. I guess a ballista could come start doing some damage, I suppose. But, of course, oh yeah, our mounted lancer. Is it a mounted lancer? Yes, it is. All right, so this will be the start of a first battle. I think Egypt will have to decide if he feels comfortable. We have another mounted lancer. Nope, that's a light chariot. We've upgraded 2 more mounted lancers. Maybe he waits a turn to get all of his lancers consolidated. But yeah, this is going to be very interesting. We're just a few turns away, 4 turns away from strong in the capital to finally start making our own mounted lancers. But this is exactly the issue that I was thinking of that you're going to have. Even if, let's look at the, yeah, look, this is crazy, man. This spear can get all the way up here. It's from the back line, right? This can get all the way here. So this spear is going to be able to get further. So this is such a cool battlefield, really, and position from Aran and usage of the map, because now even if he lets Egypt swoop in and posture here, kill a couple of units, even try to take the city or whatever, before this city falls, or even without it, because the anchor hits the border, all of this stuff will be able to swoop in after the fact. And man, interesting. You can even make, really what's sad here, which is unfortunate rather, is I really do not think Sabertooth has clocked this anchor. So fortunately, Persia does not have spoked wheels. So I have to say, man, guys, I think people are sleeping on chariots. Because a couple of obviously you wouldn't be able to get 1 kill off of this, but maybe some 2 archers. So 2 archers, you get a kill. Still, it takes down a ballista. So I know spears suck. I know seeing spears think, oh man, that's going to completely ruin and shut down my chariot potential. But I keep seeing in games, time and time again, situations like this where you have a ballista exposed. And I'm telling you, I would trade a chariot for a ballista any day of the week. If I came up here and just could kill 1 chariot with a couple of archers or a couple of slingers and kill it with a chariot, and then these spears immediately murdered my chariot, I don't care. He's now down 1 ballista that can blow up my units. So I think people are sleeping on chariots a little bit. I'm going to stick the perspective on this side for now. I've begun to realize that I kind of like when watching the battles, I kind of like watching it from the perspective of the person being attacked rather than the perspective of the player actually doing the attack. I find it a little bit more interesting this way. So it is Egypt's turn currently, but I'm going to be keeping the camera from the Persians' side. Or maybe I'll hop back and forth. Because I am curious how they're spending their orders. So we are spending orders, I think. Oh, we're moving ships up for an anchor. Fascinating. Fascinating. Interesting. Do we think we're going to be able to go around to this city? Really cool to see tactics like this. Not sure if it will amount to anything, but definitely liking the creative thinking here from Sabertooth. Pretty solid. Oh, and we're moving up with a ballista. We've taken some kills already. Oh, no, that was a scout. So we move up with a ballista. That was one force. We're force marching another one. Oh, devastating. And then here comes the mounted lancer to clean up. A maceman to clean up. So that maceman's going to go chunk and kill this guy. That's what it sounds like when a maceman hits something, by the way. And are we going to enlist? We're enlisting a spear. Don't think I like that. I think in this situation, I would save enlist for something like an axeman or... Oh, well, I mean, I guess it doesn't matter. But maybe enlist that... camel. Because the camel will still do some work against some Paltons. But, I mean, enlisting still forces your opponent to waste orders. But we have our first real battle of the match. Egypt, as the aggressor, coming in and saying, nope, you do not get to control this pass into my country. Staking their claim. Nice to see some aggression here from Sabertooth, trying to leverage his technological advantage. 2 kills already. So we're going to head back to Persia. Some interesting posturing down here in the sea. Let's see if Persia can see it. They can see a ship, and they can see the anchor. So Persia can elect to try and come up here and knock this stuff down. And let's take a look at power. They are now similar in power. So both opponents... Persia has caught up in science. Egypt is still learned, but the science rate has caught up. And... Egypt is caught up in overall military power. But again, the production of the military machine in Persia is extreme. So it will be tricky for Egypt to overtake, I think. 1 turn on monasticism. Coming up with an axe. Going to take out this freshly enlisted spear with 3 axes. So a lot of these axes are probably dead next turn to ballistas unless Persia can do anything about it. He does have 44 orders. So there are some possibilities here. However, these archers only do 3 damage to a ballista. So that might be a tall order. Ooh! Camel archers still do a sizable amount of damage, which surprises me. Oh, the nomad. Friendly family, too. Sentinel and Nomad. Crazy. Look at that. Are they on Aran? Yeah, that's why the Nomad's coming in. So this is great. Yeah, definitely want to enlist a Camel Archer here. You're fighting in arid territory. So I definitely think that is... Yeah, we have 4 turn walls. So, yeah, don't really hate this because we don't... You know, the rants I've gone in, you don't actually need the military unit in this situation because, you know, you have 1 million nearby. So, sure, I don't hate this here. And it's 4 turns. It's on your statesman's seat. Why not? You can just fight the battle in the meantime. So, you know, there are certainly times and moments where it's fine to just plop in a wall. I'm probably a little too overbearing with the don't build walls rhetoric. Certainly won't hurt in this situation. But... yeah, I really would love to see. I wonder if Sabertooth is going to clock the fact that this Camel Archer is going to be a serious problem to deal with. Oh, okay. Interesting. He just wasted that move. Oh, he's coming up with an archer. Okay, okay. He's saving his camel for something. I wonder what. Did he have more camels? He does, I think. He has 3 camels. Can he kill the ruler? Do they have enough camels to kill the ruler? No. Oh. He's going for a mace. Okay. We'll take a look at the order graph in a moment, too. I suspect that with the size of his empire, the fact that he's Persia and, well, the size of his empire, I suspect that Persia has a massive order advantage, which is also going to be another strong issue to deal with. So we've lost 1 unit so far, and we've killed... No, we lost 2 units so far, and we've killed 2. So currently we are even in this fight. And one of the units we killed was a ballista, so that is a net win in my opinion. We've lost 2 spearmen, and we've killed a ballista, and that's a trade I would make any day of the week as well. We also can, I would love to see something like this, flank right here. This is the issue that's really going to devastate. Just fill this pass. I would love to see Aran do this. Please do this. Doesn't matter if your units die. Send a spear, and then send a worker. You would have to kill 2 units. Spear, worker. Guys, this is the type of troll bullshit that I do when I fight these types of games. I come up with a spear, send a worker, and then come up with another spear, if I can afford it. And can this guy make it? No. Can this guy make it? Yep. Yes! Great. I don't care if he sends a worker or not. Great. Love to see the flanking. But yeah, send a worker. Force your opponent to kill bullshit. Force your opponent to kill useless units. Worker, I'd put a worker in every single tile here. There's 1. There's 2. Nice, nice, nice. Nice. Oh, man. Sabertooth is in a bunch of trouble here. He had an advantage economically, or not economically, well, a little bit, but militarily, technologically speaking, a couple of ballistas. He had 3 ballistas, right? He had the mounted lancer now, and I'm pretty sure the majority of these things are going to die. The lancer's going to be able to get out, because the lancers, and this goes back to what I was saying, man. Lancers, look at them. They can just go wherever the hell they want. This guy can just run away. Force march, he's fine. You know, they're so mobile. But everything else here is absolutely dead. Wow. But yeah, tactical workers are always fun to troll your opponent with. You could just flood this path with workers. And again, because nobody builds chariots in this game for some reason, not like they'd all die. You'd have to spend all of your orders and time, you know, whacking a worker with a maceman, then whacking a worker with a mounted lancer, and then you'd still have 3 more workers, not even units, workers to kill. So this unit can make it. This unit could make it with a force march. This unit could make it. And hell, even this unit could make it with a force march. Whatever, just flood that pass and then just flip your opponent off. Say, too bad. Sorry, I'm being a little too cheeky with that. I apologize. I love tactical workers. They're so troll. They're so troll that I've actually suggested to Mohawk that I think workers should exist on a different layer and should not be able... I think if military units step on a worker, they should just get bumped as if they're invisible. Just because the amount of troll stuff you can do with a tactical worker is insane. But I like doing it, so if they never do make that change, whatever, no big deal. But I have actually suggested that I don't think workers should be able to block stuff. Alright, so we're coming up. We're going to try and get this kill here to get our units out. I think we have it. And this is exactly what I'm saying. Imagine if this whole territory is filled with 4 workers right now. These units would not be able to do this. He might have enough back here to pull it off, actually. But it would still... Think about how much more effort and orders it would take. So now this unit can get out. Now this unit can get out. Now, even with forced marches, they can all escape. So, if you're watching the tournament and you're looking for tips, especially in a multiplayer setting against other opponents, and you have 50 orders per turn like Persia does, and all the workers and economy in the world, just send your civilians off to die. They're really underrated tactical things. And now, see, that's what we're doing. Now we're blocking this. You could have filled this with workers, too. Even if you didn't go for the block off, put workers here. That allows you access to this coast. And in the meantime, since you're sitting here, you could have them all build forts. Put units on top of them. That's the other thing. A worker underneath a military unit means you need to kill the unit twice. Because you would have to kill the military unit on top and then the worker underneath, which in a tight spot like this, good luck without having all these range units. Good luck getting the positioning to pull that off 4 times. You would have to kill 8 units in this location if you did military, 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 worker, 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 worker. And then, yeah. The entire Egyptian military would be dead right now. Well, not the entire of it, but a good portion of it. So, feel free to troll your opponents. Still need to get this ruler out. We have enough training. Oh, we don't have enough training to get this ballista out. But we're going to attempt to. The fort does make a worker harder to kill. Not obviously when it's under construction, but once it is finished, yes. It is a defense bonus to anything standing in the tile, including, fun fact, mounted units. Because mounted units do not get defensive bonuses from urban tiles, which only applies to infantry. See, nice. This is a great example. It's a civilian body block. We don't need the settler right now. We don't want to make sure anything can land here. So you could just block this coast even with 2 workers. You do it, or a settler. So tactical civilians can come in very, very clutch. Like to see that. Certainly not going to be settling a new city anytime soon. So might as well just toss it out there to prevent landfall. All right, so very, very cool play from Aran. I think he did miss the tactical opportunity of really, really eliminating this army, but he's still going to be able to pursue potentially quite nicely here. So he'll still get quite a few more kills, I think, if he wants them. Two turns on spoked wheel. See, now we're doing it. Again, I really think the moment you see ballistas and realize that, hey, routing units would be nice, it's not the time you want to build routing. Although, it is harder with Persia because they're unique unit routes. So I guess it can feel like you don't need a routing unit. But, so that's fair. That's a fair, not mistake, but that's a fair decision to make. Same thing with the Hittites. The Hittites, they probably ironically feel like they don't need spoked wheel because their unique unit is a chariot. Let's take a look at what else might be happening. 66 orders per turn, so we actually haven't done anything yet, so I will stay right in this area until I see some orders getting spent. Backup camels. Where are the backup camels? We have one right here. I think, again, we have 4 camel archers, 1 in the area. All right, we're moving up with the spear. We have 1 back here. We have... So 3 of our 4 camel archers are all in the area right now. They're all within kill distance of this ballista for sure, and probably even this maceman. Wow, man, they do great damage now. Nomad's always been great, but now that it also works on Aran, this is just awesome. The time of the camel is at hand. The time of the camel is upon us. Moving in with an archer. So I think what we'll try to do here is kill 2 ballistas and maybe take out another maceman or maybe the elephant. Let's look at the mounted here. 7. Yeah. Wild. Nice to see. Nice to see. So a spear will do 5 damage to a camel archer. Crazy, because it's on the arid, right? And Sentinel, I guess. So that's also that. Here we go. Here comes the camel. The march of the camel. Go, camels, go. Go, camels, go. What are we going to do? We need more range units. We could kill this with 2 archers. And then, I don't know, do something else. 2 archers can finish this thing off. And then camel up top. Yeah, nice. Is that what we're going to do? Nice. I love when I call out a tactic and then it just happens. Because then conversely, actually, I even think it's funnier when I lay out an entire battle plan of like a devastating move that somebody can do, and then they just do the complete worst possible thing that you could see somebody do in that same combat. Because then I'm like, oh man, this is all the stuff that could happen. Oh no, the opponent's screwed. And then it's like there was one game where I saw someone with the ability to get like a 5-kill route chain, and they killed like one thing and they didn't get a single route in the actual combat, and I was like, no. So that's actually more fun, but it's also satisfying when I call a way to kill something and then it just happens. All right, so this ballista is going to go down due to the camels. Yep, there we go. So we have 2 ballistic kills, a whack on this guy, this mounted lancer. Wow, yeah, 8 damage. See, a well promoted. Oh, perfect position for this. It's Highlander and Horsebane. Solid promotions on the exact spot you want it. So this spear is still going to do 8 damage to an 8 strength unit, a 9 strength unit, really. It will also, though, this is the big conundrum of the mounted lancer, it will still take full damage in return because it's a ranged attack. So this spear will unfortunately be dead if Sabertooth wants to kill it, but he might retreat here. I think Aran is in a good enough position, and he's, through feeling this combat out and the progress that's happening, I think he might just aggress here and invade in full. Also, he still has 16 orders left after all that movement. He could simultaneously start launching this stuff across the sea and attacking from the south. It looks like Sabertooth is not spending any orders down here because this spear is getting quite wounded. So that's another thing. He could really... Wow, this archer could hit from all the way back here because of marksmen. He has another archer in the region. Yeah, he could start... I would do that. Next turn, I would advance with this southern army and then even start advancing with this northern army. Do a little bit of a split and just keep the pressure up on my opponent. Well, I also do it because I think it's fun. I think it builds the tension. Chat says that explains why you call out the tactics so much. I think it does 2 things. I think it builds up the tension to, rather than just stare here at the combat and follow the action, be like, and then this spear moved, and then this archer moved and shot. I think it's more tension building. And I think it, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, feel free. There's quite a few of you in the chat. So if it's annoying, then I'll cut back on it. But I think it's fun to build the tension of like, oh no, this flank, and oh no, if the hero launches offensive, this will happen. I think it makes nice tension. So that's actually the real reason why I do it. And that's how I feel when watching these things, right? That's me reacting. When I see a situation, I'm like, oh shit, what if this happens? Because I'm constantly like looking at the situation and being like, oh no, here's what can go down. And but it is funny what happened, whether it happens like the same way or if it happens the complete wrong opposite way. Or, you know, or someone surprises me. There have been fights where I thought someone was going to lose, like 100%. I'm like, oh no, this player is going to lose this battle. And then they win, which is even cooler to witness because then I'm completely wrong. I'm like, they should retreat, and then they don't retreat, and then they actually kick the guy's ass. And then I'm just like, ah, my mind is blown. But yeah, no, I just do it because this is mostly me being engaged in the game, you know, because this is the type of stuff that I am always looking at, I'm always seeing. I love this tile buying right here, by the way, forward tile buying. This is really great because what do we have on our side? We have sentinel, archers, and slingers. So sometimes people have questioned. I've mentioned that sentinel can be very good on offense, and people are like, well, how? It's national territory only. It's good for defense. And yes, sentinel is an amazing defensive ability, but 2 ways it works. A, if you start invading your opponent's territory and taking their cities, once these cities convert to your borders, now all of your aggressively postured invading army are all sentinel. It looks like we're coming to a close here, so I'll just finish this thought about the sentinel. And then the other thing, which Aran is doing delightfully, which I've actually don't think I've ever seen, but it does make sense. He's buying the tiles towards his opponent here, which will give him the sentinel buff. So you can also do that aggressively too, which is really cool to see. And, you know, it gets the tactical worker involved too. So this is Chat said they like the tactical call out because I'm either right and they can think, cool, perfectly executed move, or I'm wrong, and this is me, not the unit. And they can laugh at me. Or maybe they're saying, anyway, doesn't matter. Thank you guys all for tuning in. It does look like our opponents have ended here. Great cliffhanger, great tension. So I'll go over some quick match stats after just getting a nice pan over this battlefield. Really cool build up here. All right, let's take a quick look at all the records and stuff. So national wealth is in favor of Egypt. Population, Aran, of course, because his empire is massive. Specialists, massive Aran. Workers, almost double for Aran. Military units produced. This is, I mean, I don't see a way back for Sabertooth. He's already losing a fight here. And Aran has 40 military units built to Sabertooth's 18. I mean, this is going to be a tricky bounce back for Egypt. And the problem here is that Aran has the entire map. And he's finally caught up in science rate. So let's take a look here. Laws, technology discovered, only 25 for Egypt. So all that extra 1,000 some odd science in the tech tree is only done in deeper levels of technologies rather than more spread around, which is honestly the way you want to do it. You want to take your tech advantage and beeline stuff. Let's see here. Massive economy for Persia as well. 161 improvements to 84. Yeah, I think, I hate to say it, but Sabertooth, things are looking bleak. Orders production, 56 for Aran to 47 for Sabertooth. Science, finally, for the first time, just a few turns ago, only 5 turns ago, Persia has finally taken the science rate lead, and they will start closing that science gap. Military score, massive. Well, not as massive, because this is the thing, right? But this is the issue. They are similar in power score, but Egypt has like a third as many units. So it's going to be a really tricky climb. Egypt is really going to have to leverage these choke points if he can. But the issue with unit production here, right, with the fact that we have things like a 1-turn slinger coming out, like what the fuck? It's like every couple of turns, this is just going to be a 1-turn slinger, is that Aran is now in a position where he can just keep flooding this pass with bodies. Maybe these 3 horses sit here and kill this spear, right? But then next turn, you just archer into it, you camel archer into it, and then you bring up another spear. So Persia, Aran, is just going to be able to keep throwing bodies at the problem. And in Egypt, we have an 8-turn ballista. We have, we're building a bireme, which is not going to help. We have an 8-turn maceman. We're building, we have a spear coming. We just don't have the build queue or the training to keep up with this relentless assault if Aran chooses to press an advantage next time. So anyway, that is the game so far. Couple of hours of play, second session in this matchup. We'll go into a third session when our players schedule. Thanks for tuning in live with us. I'm thrilled that you're here, and I appreciate you for watching. And if you're watching after the fact on YouTube, please give us a like, a subscribe, hop on over to the Mohawk channel and check out the main tournament playlist. We have lots of games on there. You can catch up some of the older games that have happened because we've had a lot of really great games in the tournament. So thank you. I'm Siontific, and this has been the Old World 2025 Community Tournament. Take care.